How strong is Jack Brewer? This question has divided people, with some saying that he is so strong that he could take on the goats Tang Lung and Ip Man, and others stating that he can't even touch Mitch.
You serious?
I will answer this question in this video by evaluating each season and talking about how strong Jack was and where he scaled. In Season 1 of Kickin' It, Jack is introduced in the first episode as a character who can already take on multiple opponents who are strong enough to be regional champions, such as Frank Bickle, who was stated to be the strongest fighter in California. This put Jack at a state championship or regional champion level. In the 6th episode, Jack takes on multiple ninjas and loses eventually, even though held his own for a while. He then performed a flying dragon kick that had only ever been performed by Bobby Wasabi, who was in his prime, showing that Jack was way too skilled for his age. Jack then continued on an upward trend throughout the rest of that season, as seen in Episode 9, where it is established that Jack's dojo has become the best in the chain. And this is only because of Jack after he won another tournament, putting it at 2 or 3 at this point. In the next few episodes, he takes on Black Dragon dojo fighters multiple times once while blindfolded, establishing that he is even better than he was in the first episode by far. Jack, in Episode 17, goes on to break the world record for the most boards broken in 15 seconds, which was 29, making him one of the fastest fighters in the world. In addition to facing trained fighters blindfolded, this makes his speed estimate insanely high.
I don't think you have any idea how fast I really am. I'm fast as fuck, boy.
2 episodes later, Jack is invited to participate in the World Championships in China, and it is stated that Jack hasn't lost a match since he joined the Bobby Wasabi dojo. Jack participates in the tournament and makes it to the finals, which he had to forfeit after getting hurt. Jack didn't struggle with a single opponent during the whole tournament and beat kids that were considered the best in the world with ease, thus establishing that he is at least world championship level. The interesting thing about the tournament is that Jack said that his cousin Kai Brewer beat him so badly that he quit karate for a year. This is the same kid that was beating the crap out of Franklin for fun and could do prime Bobby Wasabi level kicks. This brings the question of how strong was Kai really, but that is for another day. Jack then fights Kai Brewer after the tournament ends and knocks him out, establishing him as the best fighter in the world. In the last episode of Season 1, Jack takes on a 6'3", 270-pound wrestler to protect Rudy and manages to knock him out, which is insane because he is only 12 at this point. Considering all of this, I think that it is safe to say that Jack was just above world champion level by the end of the first season, and this is because of his insane speed and acrobatic ability that allow him to perform near impossible moves. So as far as the question of how high does Season 1 Jack scale? With all things considered, he is above world championship level for his age and can compete with age groups above him, but is missing in strength and IQ department, with his main strengths being technique, speed, and acrobatic ability. This brings us to Season 2, which by far has the most confusing character development for Jack, as by the end, he might have even regressed. So let's get into it. The first real competition fighting we see from Jack is in Episode 7, when he and Rudy are participating in a Sensei student tournament where they run into Trent Derby, who is another interesting fighter that we will talk about later. In this tournament, Jack and Rudy showcase their skills as a duo, which were so good that it had Trent Derby scared even though he had won the tournament the previous year. This was nothing extraordinary, especially after what was seen in Season 1. The next time we see something interesting is in Episode 11, when we see Jack and Kim Crawford spar, which we saw Jack lose. This was the first loss that we had seen Jack take in the whole show, until he admitted that he let her win, because she is a girl and could beat her with ease if he tried. If this statement wasn't exaggerated, then we can say that Jack is well above Nationals level, which we already know from Season 1, thus leaving us in the same spot. In Episode 14, though, we see something new as Jack competes in his first on-screen tournament of the season as he faces a kid he violated in the first episode. But it seems like this nameless guy had more character development than Jack, as we find out he hasn't lost in 2 years, putting Jack at 14 as well, which we find out later. Jack defeats him with high difficulty and wins another tournament, meaning that either this guy caught up in the 2 years or Jack has gotten worse. After the match, we find out a sensei at the best martial arts school in the world was watching and offers him a scholarship, which he refuses because of his girl.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
But this shows that Jack is still at that level, even though he wasn't showing it a lot. In the next episode, we get the best show of strength from Jack yet, as he breaks the under-15 record of most blocks broken with 1 strike. This means that Jack is one of the strongest or has the strongest punch of any kid his age, which was a weakness in the first season, giving Jack a bit more of an offensive style. The next real fight per se is in Episode 20 against Carson Hunter in the Battle of the Dojos. In this episode, we see a different version of Jack, as he betrays the Bobby Wasabi Dojo and joins the Black Dragons as he seeks revenge on the guy who humiliated him. Jack fights Carson and wins by DQ, but still wants to fight to prove that he can beat him. Carson had put sandbags in his gloves, which was considered cheating, and Jack still managed to collide fists with him, which aligns with our earlier statement that he was probably the kid with the strongest punch in the world in the same age group. Jack ends up beating Carson, who was said to be the best student that Rudy ever taught before Jack, and was the youngest black belt in California.
Cap.
In Episode 21, we see that Jack had taken 3 months without training at all and had regressed to be worse than Frank, who he beat in the first episode. In this same episode, Jack ties in an official match for the first time against Sensei Tai's star pupil Brian, who was nothing special. The season ends with Jack being at a very confusing level, as you could say, that he is back down to regional, or because of his strength, you could put him at nationals level. I would say that Jack in Season 2 downgraded from his earlier level to a national or state championships level.
Next up.
Now let's move on to Season 3, which begins with a bang to make up for that excuse of a second season.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
In this season, we have Jack Brewer has an incredible progression. In the first episode, we see a 15-year-old Jack Brewer take down 2 military-trained opponents with no difficulty. In the next few episodes, we see Jack break solid bricks with his bare hands, get entrusted to teach classes alongside Jerry Martinez, and also do a standing backflip over an insane distance. We then see Jack beat Kai Brewer in a brawl with relative ease.
Nice.
Showing how much Jack has surpassed him. This would easily put Jack up to low sensei or world champion level because of his strength, speed, acrobatic ability, and technique, and in the next Jack-focused episode, we see just that. In Episode 10, we see that Jack thinks the same thing as us, as Jack thinks that he is ready to become a sensei, and when Rudy Gillespie refuses to make him one, he joins another dojo that thinks he is at that level. Jack ends up entering a sensei tournament in which he gets to the final, showing that he is a low sensei to mid-sensei level, given that he won all matches with relative ease. He lost the final to Rudy Gillespie, who was able to counter every single one of his moves, but Jack still landed a couple, which means that he can compete with high sensei-level threats. For the rest of Season 3, we see Don't Jack make that much improvement until Episode 21, where we see Jack get invited to join a military program for teens where he will undergo military training. In this very episode, we see Jack take on cyborgs and manage to defeat one by kicking it off the roof in a display of his strength, speed, and battle IQ. Jack in this fight shows that he is much better than he was at the beginning of the season when faced the agents, which supports our thesis that Jack is about mid-sensei level at this point in time in skill. At the end of Season 3, we can safely say Jack is mid-sensei level, which means that he is as good as the average sensei. And this is supported by his feats in the season, along with his insane speed, strength, and technique, with his main crutch being IQ. even though it is still pretty high. He still loses to higher level or more experienced sensei. Now let's look at the final season, which saw Jack finally become a sensei. This season was very focused on Jerry Martinez and Milton Krupnick, but we still see Jack improve, as in the first episode, we see Jack take on Shane Peters, who had been training since he was 6. Jack was seen displaying incredible strength, which supports our previous statements. Jack ends up becoming a sensei in episode 15 after undergoing Rudy's tests, which included breaking 3 cinder blocks with a spinning dragon kick and defeating the whole dojo blindfolded. This aligns with earlier statements that suggest that Jack is much better than he was when he fought Rudy, and this would move him up to about high sensei level, as he can take down multiple black belts with ease and has a vast array of experience. So by the end of season 4, we can safely say where to put Jack Brewer. Jack is a fighter who is known for his incredible speed, strength, acrobatic ability, battle IQ, and techniques. Jack's progression from the first season to the final episode of season 4 was astronomical, as we see him move from a fighter who was at a state championship level to a high sensei level, which is an incredible improvement in 5 years, as he is a sensei at 17. Jack becomes one of the best fighters in the world, as mentioned in the finale. By the end of the show, I would put Jack at a level that surpasses the legendary Bobby Wasabi. Even though Jack isn't strong enough to beat masters such as Ip Man and Tang Lung, he is strong enough to give them a challenge. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.
Bye, have a great time.